Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. Can I see a show of hands? Can you raise your hand and let me know that you can hear me okay? Look at this. When I first started doing Zoom, no one knew how to raise their hand. You guys are pros already. I bet you've been to a million webinars on Zoom at this point. Okay, good. I'm going to lower all your hands. Welcome to Friday morning trainings. This morning you're in for a treat. David, our digital media specialist, is going to show you around Facebook ads and how he creates them. I want to remind you that we will stop during the presentation and at the end for Q&A. Please put your Q&As in the question portion of the Q&A, not in the chat. I will be observing the chat if there's a problem, but otherwise we will get started. And I appreciate all of you attending. I am going to stop my screen sharing now and turn it over to David. I believe, David.
So, yep.
Can you share your screen?
Host disabled attendee screen sharing.
Yeah, I was afraid of that. Hold, please.
One sec.
Okay, you're good.
Yep, there we go. Okay, so hello, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. Let me just get my screen shared over here. Give me 1 second. I'll put it in presentation mode. If you can see my screen, 1 second. We are sharing my screen, so that is good news. So as Virginia mentioned, my name is Dave Marks. I'm with Wise Cloud Consulting. I'm a digital media specialist. And today we're going to talk about Facebook ads. And you might be asking yourself, well, first let me get into an agenda. You might be asking yourself why the need to advertise on Facebook. I will get into that in a little bit. Then we'll stop for any questions you may have. And as Virginia mentioned, we will stop along the way for any questions. Then I'm going to go through the basic steps of creating a basic Facebook ad, not too in-depth, not trying to overwhelm you in any way, but just give you kind of the basics, and then we'll round up with some questions at the end. So the big question of the day, why advertise on Facebook? So if you look at this graph, you can see a sharp drop off in what Facebook terms organic reach. And what organic reach is the non-paid posts. So think of different posts that you put out on your Facebook page that you do not put money into. Those are considered organic posts. So if you were lucky in 2011 to advertise or to promote on Facebook and promote really good content, chances are that 26% of your audience would see your content on any given post. It might not seem like a lot, but as you can see, as Facebook changed their algorithms in 2012, it was 16%, dropped again in 2013, 14, 15, 16, and in 2017, 0.5%. And again, what that essentially means is if you were to put a post out on your Facebook page, 0.5% of your audience may see that post. Now, it might be higher, it might be less, but as you can see, there's a sharp decline in what Facebook terms organic reach. And I'm assuming that this trend continues based on the algorithms that Facebook has put up. So why do you think that they do that? Why did you think that they went from letting you reach your constituents at a higher rate in 2011 and not so much as we move along here as Facebook developed? Pretty simple answer. That would be money. So if you think about it, as with many things in the world, it boils down to money. With smaller and smaller organic reach, marketers are being led down the pathway of paying for advertising for things on Facebook. It's gotten to the point where if I tell organizations that you are taking time on Facebook, you're putting resources and energy into Facebook in 2020, you basically have to be advertising on Facebook because of what I had mentioned in the previous slide, being that you are getting less and less out of posting organically than you are for paid advertisements. So it makes no sense not to advertise on Facebook at this point. I'm going to take a quick breather. Does anyone have any questions on that?
We'll give them a second to type them in, David.
Sure, sounds good. Just give it 1 sec.
No, it looks like they all get that it's pay for play. I have no questions at this point.
Well, up, I've seen something pop. Okay, so we'll go on then. And if there's one thing that I want you to walk away with today from today's webinar is my last point, and that's that you essentially need to be advertising on social media to get anywhere on social media nowadays. So the first step in creating a Facebook ad is to create a Facebook ads account. What I recommend for businesses is to create a Facebook Business Manager account. I'm not going to get into the creation of that today, but if you're planning on advertising on Facebook, it's a good idea to create a Facebook Business Manager account. You would go to business.facebook.com, and they make it pretty simple to kind of walk you through how to do it, but there's many benefits to it, and this will give you more freedom for transferring ad accounts to new parties. Let's say you bring in an agency like Wisecoff Consulting, nudge, nudge, and you can pass along your ad account more easily than needing to give them your login information, which we never recommend doing. You can also create Facebook pixels, which helps you to retarget ads. And what I mean by retargeting ads is, let's say someone visits your website and then they go on their Facebook page, you can then retarget ads to show those visitors content that you have created to the visitors that have already been on your website. It's a neat little trick. So if you've ever wondered why you visit a website and then a couple minutes later you go on Facebook and you see that website's content on Facebook, you now understand why that happens. It's through retargeting. Okay, again, I'm not going to get into business manager accounts today. That's not the focus, but definitely something you should look into. So this is kind of the first step in the process of creating Facebook ads. This is the first thing that you'll do when you are ready to create ads. You'll create a campaign. There's basically 3 levels of Facebook advertising: campaigns, ad sets, and ads. Campaigns is generally the basic overall goal of the ads. So you can choose from marketing objectives such as brand awareness, as you see in the middle, consideration, and conversion. Among these 3 different broad categories, you have different goals. So the first one you'll see over here is brand awareness. That is essentially what it sounds like: getting people aware of your organization or your brand's mission. Reach, trying to reach as many people as you possibly can early on. And this kind of follows a logical flow. So if you go from awareness, the next thing would be consideration. So people considering converting or doing an action to your website or whatever. So traffic is just that. It's sending people to a site or a landing page off Facebook where you can do anything you want, including getting their information on a form or a donation or buying something or whatever. Engagement is getting them to engage with your content. So if you have a post that you'd like people to interact with, you'd go with engagement. App installs, a little more advanced, not something that I think most of you will be needing to worry about. Video views, again, just as it sounds, viewing videos that you've created. Lead generation. Now, this is one that I do want to talk about. So let's say you're trying to get, for example, if you're a nonprofit or you are a business that is looking for an intern or anything along those lines. Lead generation is a very useful app in that portion of that aspect, because it allows you to get information from people that can meet certain criteria. So if you're looking for, let's say, an intern who studied college, is just finishing up the last year of college, what you can do is you could send out a lead gen ad and to college age kids, or I call them kids. And then what Facebook will do is they'll automatically fill in a lot of the information for them So all they have to do is basically hit submit. Now, there are some privacy sort of things you have to go along with when you create lead generation ads, but in general, if you're trying to get leads on something, it's a very easy way for on both the consumer end and the business end to kind of get people into your ecosystem. Messages, this sounds exactly like it is. So that's creating a message, getting people to message your account, that kind of thing. And then again, the logical flow from consideration, think of the sales funnel, to conversion. That's kind of the last step. Conversion being getting them to do something. So for example, using the Facebook pixel that I had mentioned earlier, you can retarget people, but you can also see when they get to the landing page after they've done something on your website. So what that means is, let's say I create an ad trying to get people to buy something, they buy it, and then they go to a thank you page afterwards. What conversions will do is it'll allow you to track that, and it'll target people who will be more likely to convert or buy or whatever action you'd like them to complete. Catalog sales, that's if you have a product, a whole bunch of products you're trying to sell. And then store traffic, so physical location if you want people to get to your store. I saw a couple hands raised. Is that correct, Virginia, or am I just...
So, I lost the attendees when you
Okay.
took the share. So I apologize. I did ask, someone put a comment in, and I asked Stephanie
Mm-hmm.
put a comment in, and I asked her to put it in the Q&A in the form of a question. It says, say that again, it makes no sense to what? And I wasn't paying attention when it came up. So Stephanie, if you could clarify what you're asking David, we can get him to answer that for you.
Mm-hmm. And I'll wait a second here.
Were there other hands raised, David?
I thought I saw some. There's one in the Q&A.
Here we go. It's from Stephanie. I'm okay now. It was about what didn't make sense. Okay, so obviously you answered it for
It
her.
was answered. Cool.
So that's great.
Awesome. So I guess
We can move on. Yep.
We can move on. So as I mentioned, there's the 3 different sections of the ads, and there's also different objectives based on those 3 different sections. One of the more basic ones that I'm going to focus on today is traffic. Let's say you already have people who are aware of your brand. Now you want them to go to a landing page on your site, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today.
Okay, there is another question.
Sure.
Is there a written list of definitions of the 3 categories of marketing campaigns?
So
they weren't on your screen, but is there somewhere in Facebook? I believe she's in, right?
I'm almost 100% sure there is. Facebook offers a lot of help in that aspect on how to do certain things and explaining certain things. So while I don't have that URL handy, I'm almost 100% positive.
I'll see if I can find it, David, and I'll pop it up on the screen.
Okay.
Well, go ahead.
Okay. So the first thing, as I had mentioned, that you do for an ad on Facebook is to create a campaign name. Now, what I like to do is do the name of a campaign and then roughly the month and the year that it will be running. It helps to kind of differentiate what you're doing. So let's say you have a whole bunch of ads running at a different time. This will give you an idea of what those ads are and what they're trying to accomplish. So I usually go the name of the campaign and then the date and the year. Although if you want to name it something else, you're more than welcome to do it, as long as you understand what that is. Creating an A/B test, a little more advanced. We're not going to get into this today, but that basically allows you to test different things, such as the content that you're showing your constituents, to when you're scheduling out the ads, to all that sort of stuff. I recommend putting campaign budget optimization on, so that if you have a whole bunch of ad sets in your campaign, then you can optimize the budget to whatever the previous awareness level or conversions or whatever you're optimizing your ad for. Okay. So this is the ad set portion of the ad. process. And what I do, and this is kind of a personal preference, because it can get kind of funky when you're running a whole bunch of different ads, I create different campaigns and different ad sets for each ad I'm doing. It is a little more time consuming, but it helps me to keep things in order. I'm a very simple person. So when things get a little crazy, I don't tend to keep track of everything. So you can create multiple ad sets in a campaign and then multiple ads in an ad set. It gets a little hairy for me, but if you find that you work better with the multiple stages going on, you are more than welcome to do that. As I had mentioned before, traffic was the sort of goal of our advertisement. And usually I go for a website or a landing page. That's the first option that I click on. Dynamic creative. So this is something that if you would like to serve different advertisements or different images or videos to different people, Facebook will automatically generate the ones that will most optimize to the person who's viewing it. Not a bad thing to do, but again, not anything you have to do. The offer, you can create an offers for like 15% off or whatever you need to do. I've never had to use it yet, but it could be beneficial if you're trying to sell a physical product. And then the next step would be in the ad set portion. And I'll get to this thing on the right in a second, but you can kind of identify the region that you would like to target. So let's say your organization mainly functions around Glen Ellen and you want to do a 35-mile radius of Glen Ellen. You would type you would click people living in or recently in this location. And then you would type in Glen Ellen and then change the radius to a 35-mile radius. And as you can see, this is what pops up, and that's the only area that you will be targeting. Down here, you see the age. So let's say you know for a fact that your organization only deals with the older population. You would probably change this to something like 40 to 65 or 50 to 65 or however you see fit. You can also target people for their languages. I don't really do that. The second one's more of what I want to focus on in this part, and it's connections. So if you're working through the awareness phase, just trying to get people to kind of understand what your product or service is or what your business is all about, I would leave the connections blank. But let's say you have a good solid base, a nice number of likes on Facebook, people know your content, know who you are, then what I do, I see a little helpful URL pop up, then what I do is I target people who already like our page. The reason being is that if you target people who don't know anything about your product or service, and you just leave that people who like your page blank, then people will be less likely to take an action if they don't already know about your business. That's why you go from awareness to consideration to conversions, because you're not going to just blindly send out the ad to a whole bunch of people expecting a whole bunch in return. If you target people who already know about your product through people who like your page, you'll be more likely to get people to act how you would like them to act. And I see, Virginia, you typed the URL on
I know, I'm sorry. It came in and I had to type it all by hand. It wouldn't let me paste. So I hope I got the numbers right.
That's nice. Yeah.
You have a question, though, if I can throw it in there, David.
Yep, go ahead.
What does ad sets mean?
So ad set is just a portion of the ad creation process. So in the general, overall, biggest picture portion of your ad is the campaign. Under the campaign is an ad set. And so you can have a whole bunch of different ad sets, but all with the same goal of the campaign. And then each ad set can have different ads. It's just a different way to break down the ads. That's why I keep it simple and I do one campaign to one ad set to one ad. Personal preference, but just what I like to do. Any other questions?
Yeah, there is. Would
Okay.
you recommend a campaign to get higher likes prior to doing ads?
Yes. So that gets into the awareness portion of the ads. So as I mentioned earlier, the Facebook campaign goals kind of follow a logical sort of stream. So they go from awareness to consideration to conversions. So in the early phases, let's say you're new to the community or you're just starting out your business, I would personally, I would focus more on getting people to like your page, be aware of your product or service, and then move them along to a traffic ad, and then move them along to a conversion ad. I wouldn't go necessarily from conversion to awareness to consideration. Always think about the general sales funnel and kind of apply it to what you're doing. Any other questions?
Not right now.
Okay. This thing on the right, which if I went back, this little audience size portion of the ads, this kind of gives you an idea of how many people you potentially will reach based on the budget and based on your segmentation. You're always trying to aim for this green area. Excuse me. You don't want to be too specific because then you're probably leaving potential clients or customers out, but you don't want to be too broad either, because if you're too broad, yeah, you're going to be reaching a lot of people, but that's probably not the people you're going to want to reach who will convert or go to your website. So estimated daily results just gives you a kind of a general idea of how many people you'll be reaching per day. And then link clicks based on, as I mentioned, budget and segmentation, how many link clicks you will get. I see, is there a question?
There is, but let's not stop for each one, David. So
Okay.
I think you should finish the
So
section so
budget
we
and
don't get,
schedule is,
yeah. Go ahead.
okay, so budget and schedule is also under the ad set. This is where you will determine what you're optimizing your ad for. So link clicks, landing page views. Again, I'm not going to get into too much of that. You also have the option of cost controlling. So let's say you want to control the amount you want to bid on a different link click, then you could set it here. I always leave this blank. I let Facebook do the hard work for me because there is limited time and resources. Budget and schedule. You can either do a daily budget, and you can also do a lifetime budget. I usually choose the lifetime budget because I'm paranoid and I don't like things getting out of control and spending more money than I would like to. So I put a lifetime cap on it. And I usually also set a start date and an end date. So that way I know for sure the ad will end on a given day and I know exactly how much money I'm going to spend. I rarely let my ad set run continuously because of, let's say you forget that it's running and you get a huge bill from Facebook. That's kind of the reason why my justification for always setting a start date and an end date. And then they'll give you an idea of how much you'll likely spend. I usually create the ads a few days in advance because it takes Facebook a little while to review the ads. Facebook does review the ads. So I usually do my ads 3 or 4 days in advance, let Facebook kind of review them because it takes about a day or two, and then you'll be good to go and they'll be ready to run. Okay, this is the ad portion of it. So if we have questions, this is a good place to stop.
The question is, will you talk about how you get potential clients, your target market, to like your page as opposed to your friends and family? I think we need to define like versus follow and personal versus business also at this time because of that question.
So a Facebook page is your business page represented on Facebook. A Facebook profile is one that is your personal identity. So my name is Dave Marks. I have a profile. I work for Weiskopf Consulting. Weiskopf Consulting has a business page. So it's not, when you're creating ads, you are not creating ads for your profile. You are creating ads for your page. And as such, because you are represented on Facebook and creating ads as a page on Facebook, you aren't necessarily targeting friends and family. You'll be targeting the audience that you dictate on the ad set section of the website. So of the page. So if that gives a general better definition of what kind of things you'll be targeting, you can create ads on profiles, but I wouldn't recommend doing that because your friends and family probably already know about what you're doing. You want to target new people and people who might have an interest in your business, if that answers the question. Okay, moving on. So when you are creating an ad on Facebook, you get to choose the Facebook page that, as I had mentioned, that your ad will represent. This really only comes in handy if you manage multiple pages on Facebook. If you don't manage multiple pages and you just manage one Facebook page, then this little section right here will probably already be defaulted to the one page that you manage. If you have an Instagram account connected to your Facebook page, you can also represent your business on the ad as that Instagram account. You can also represent yourself on Instagram as the page. But really, if you don't manage multiple Facebook pages, you don't have to worry about this section of it. This is the format section of the ads, and this is basically how your ad will look. So there's three different options. There's the carousel ads, which are 2 or more scrollable images or videos. Single image or video, you can do 1 image or video or a slideshow with multiple images. Slideshow usually recommended over image, as people like to see movement, and it's a good way to convey a long message in a short sort of format. And then a collection, more so focused on the mobile side of things. So if you know that your constituents only interact with you through on a mobile app or a mobile Facebook page, this might be for you. I usually focus on the carousel or single image or video. And one thing I would recommend is if you have the talent, energy, and resources to create a video versus a stagnant image, I would recommend it. Facebook has put a bigger sort of reach on video versus images, and that can be seen in the news feed of most of what you probably are seeing on Facebook, as well as the reach that certain Facebook pages videos get over images. So just a little tip, video usually does better than images on ads. At the bottom is an add an instant experience. So you can create a full screen, mobile optimized landing page. Again, a little more advanced, not something we'll be getting into today. Here in the media section is where you will show where you will create what your ad will look like. So let's say I wanted to do an ad on CTR, otherwise known as click-through rate. Then I would upload an image through this add image section, and then I can crop it to a square, edit the image, turn it into a video, i.e. A slideshow. They offer some different kind of templates that you can use. But if you're starting off basic, I would just recommend uploading a video that's good to go. They also offer image specs, sort of recommendations for videos and images. And if you wanted to, you could create another ad through add an image, and then Facebook will optimize each ad according to what they think will do best for you. Again, a little more advanced though, not something I'd recommend moving forward. Not something I recommend doing now. This next page we're going to spend a little bit more time on. So this is where you will actually create the text that will be used in your ad. So if you see, primary text is the main thing that the user will view. So test primary text. It's the first thing right here. And that's what is needed and required on the ad to move forward. The other two are optional, but they're pretty good idea to do. Keep them short though. So the headline would be this headline down here, and then the description is right under the headline. Headline would be something short. I wouldn't go more than 3 to 4 words. Description can be a little longer, but you have to be careful because eventually this gets cut off, especially on mobile. Usually, unless you have a Facebook event you'd like to do, I usually just do a website for the destination. And here's where you put your URL in. And if you're paranoid like me, you can preview the URL to make sure it works. The display link is basically what the user will see right here. I usually leave it alone. It's fine the way I usually put it in here. And the call to action button, or this button right here, can be changed. You can have no button. I usually don't recommend that. Learn more, apply now, book now, contact us, donate now, download, get offer, get quote, and a couple more that I think, and that's basically just kind of choosing what phrase works best with what you're trying to offer. So let's say you want to get them to book a reservation, for example, then you would obviously click book now instead of learn more. If you're a nonprofit, donate now is recommended. If you have something they want to download, give them something to download, click the download button, etc., etc.
David,
This is
can you go back?
yeah,
I have a question on that page.
sure.
So where you put the website URL in,
Mm-hmm.
if you have a landing page, you could put after the slash what that landing page is?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Wanted
Yep.
to,
So it's the full URL destination. Is
okay.
essentially what you want to put in the URL,
Thank
website
you.
URL section.
Build
Yep.
a URL parameter.
So that's if you want to track things using UTM codes or anything along those lines. Again, a little more advanced, something you could probably leave alone unless you're familiar with UTM codes. But I would basically just leave it alone for now.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. There's a couple
Yeah.
questions, but we can do those at the end.
Yeah, we are getting there. So this is, again, as I had mentioned, you can track conversions on Facebook through the Facebook Pixel. And this is where having a Facebook Business Manager comes in handy, because if you didn't have that, you can't create a Facebook Pixel, which is essentially just a little piece of code that goes on your website that allows Facebook to kind of track what your users are doing on and off anonymously on the website. And then you can track those conversions here if you choose to, but that's in a conversion ad, and that's not something that we're going to do today. If you have an app event that you like them to track, you can do that. Offline events, I've never really utilized. And then you can do the URL parameters again if you'd like. The last thing that I recommend doing before hitting the confirm button is to review. As I mentioned, I'm super paranoid. I'm a measure twice, cut once type of person. So I always review, and what that looks like is this. So this is the review box that'll pop up. You see there's the campaign name, the campaign objective, the ad set name, which again, because I keep things simple, is the same as the campaign name, the targeting, where it will show up, the budget and schedule, optimize for link clicks, bidding, lowest cost, pay for impression, and then this would be the ad portion of it. So if I were to go down, maybe not, that would be it, but this would get into the ad and what it'll look like. And you can check all that, review it, and then once you're ready to go, you can hit confirm. So that is a really crash course, brief sort of jump into Facebook advertising. What are the questions?
Okay, we have a question from John. Do the estimated audiences that Facebook show seem to be accurate and realistic?
So yes. Now I don't have any kind of numbers on that to back that up, but anecdotally, from what I've noticed on spending a fair amount of money on Facebook ads over the past 7 years, They seem to nail that audience really well, and the estimates that they portray, usually the results that I get fall within those ranges.
So can you speak a little bit, David, to the fact that they put an ad out, they put their
Hmm.
money down on their budget, they
Hmm.
got the estimated amount of uh, impressions that John was just asking about.
Yeah.
But you said for them not to use the UTM code to measure it. I think that it's important that they have some form of measurement on what their call to action is. So
So they give you results, if that's what you're asking.
yeah,
Yeah, they give you a results section in the ads manager portion of the business manager account where you can track different results such as link clicks, conversions, impressions, reach. So they do give you that. And if you're just starting out, it's a good idea to keep track of that, but definitely moving forward as you do this more and more and spend more advertising dollars on Facebook, then it would be good to compare results, see what's working, see what's not working, all that kind of stuff. So yes, they do give you that in the ads manager portion.
okay, thank you. The next question, what is a good length for a video ad?
So it's kind of interesting in that when you're doing an organic post, which again, organic is non-paid, Facebook usually recommends something 3 minutes or longer. When you are advertising with them, they recommend videos that are 15 seconds or shorter. I don't quite know what that reason is, why they recommend the organic to be longer and the advertisement to be shorter, but I'm guessing it has something to do with the short attention spans that a lot of people are developing nowadays. So you really want to hook them quick, and if you keep your video short and sweet, 15 seconds or less, you're more likely to get them engaged with you, I think, is Facebook's process with that.
Okay, another question.
Sure.
So if we are totally an unknown business on Facebook, does an
Mhm.
initial Facebook ad like this, targeted to an age group and geographic region, get us to harvest likes?
It can get you likes if that's the question. Yes. So one of the go ahead.
I think I read it as so how do I start? There was awareness. Under the awareness
Hmm.
piece, it's branding and likes. So is
Hmm.
that our first step?
So usually what I do is I go with awareness, which is either brand awareness or reach, and then shortly thereafter I move along to what was that? Consideration. So under consideration in the campaign portion, you will find engagement, and one of those options that you can click is page likes. So yes, I would recommend a small business just starting out to get people aware by building awareness from that first portion of the campaign section, and then moving along to consideration.
Okay, I don't have any more. I'm going to talk. I looked up likes versus follows for you guys because I know that's confusing.
Mm-hmm.
When I like a page, I automatically start to follow that page, which means that when that page puts something in its feed, they're going to feed it into my personal feed, which is what we want people to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I can continue to like a page and unfollow it. So therefore, your likes on a page and your follows on a page could be different.
That's exactly right. More often than not, you will find that the likes on your page are different than the followers on your page.
But as a business, you want them to follow you. So you want to make sure when you're putting content out, it's valuable to the people who are consuming it so they continue to follow. Would that be right?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
Okay, I have no more questions. You guys need to think of some more questions for David. Do you have a summation or are we just done for now?
Well, we could be done for now. If there are no questions, I would say again, the main thing I would like you all to take away from this is the absolute need to advertise on Facebook if you have any interest in making any headway with your Facebook business page. because of the diminishing kind of reach that organic has. So there's the one thing I'd like you to learn. A lot of the stuff can get kind of nitty gritty, but the one thing I'd like you to learn is probably a good idea to advertise on Facebook.
Okay, we're going to continue talking, David, and take because there's typing questions in, but I want to
Sure.
share my screen with the upcoming events.
Okay.
Can you?
Yes, I can. Give me
Thank
one
you.
sec. No problem. There you go.
Okay, so let me do this. And okay, keep typing questions and I'll get to them. I just want to say thank you for coming this morning. And here's a list of our upcoming Friday trainings. I also next week on the 21st am doing a longer digital webinar with SCORE Fox Valley from 2 to 4. But every Friday we are doing trainings that are quick and easy for you to do. And all previous recorded webinars that we've done are on my YouTube channel, which you can get to from the website. So a couple more questions for you, David.
Sure.
If you have less than 500 likes, would you still start with awareness?
It depends on where you're at in that 500. I think if you're on the lower end, if you're at 1 to 200, I would still absolutely run awareness ads more so than I would consideration ads. It's kind of a gut feel more so than anything, but what I would do is I'd continue to build up awareness with it. And this is also something where you can run multiple ads at one given time. You don't necessarily have to devote all of your advertising dollars to awareness. You can devote a majority of it to awareness and then some to consideration or vice versa. But yeah, definitely building that awareness portion is essential in the beginning.
So I would add to that, David, that they need to set a budget. This is my budget for this month. This is my budget for next month. And run your ad for 30 days. See what happens and then make adjustments.
Yep, absolutely. That's testing is essential when it comes to all of these different avenues.
John wants to know if the presentation will be available. So yes, I said that I'm recording all of these and putting them on the YouTube channel so you can go back and watch them. Next question, any particular system for determining how much to spend on an initial campaign?
This is very much dictated by your personal organization. So if you have the money to advertise on Facebook and advertise a lot on Facebook, I would recommend it. But if you do not have a lot of money to do that, that'll kind of dictate what you should spend on Facebook advertising. If you have the money available, use it. But I can't really answer that question because it's kind of dictated by your organization.
But you could do as little as $50 a month.
You can do 25, you could do 25, 50. Facebook advertising is really cheap and you get a high return on investment.
Right. So I think don't freak out about the dollars. Think out about, okay, I can spend between $50 and $100 this month. What am I going to do? Am I going to do all in one ad? Am I going to do multiple ads? How are you going to spend it? And then look at those. The next question moves into this is, so how can I actually see conversions? And David, you want to talk about that panel again? If you do 2 different ads, you can see which one performed better.
Yeah. So, and in the back end of the business manager account on Facebook, which is recommended for all the reasons I listed, you will be given different sort of results of each ad that you are running, and then you can compare them. And then one of those characteristics that you can look at is conversions. So if there's one ad that's converting a lot better than the other, you can prune away the other one and kind of figure out what made the different ads better than the other and do more ads on that particular look or budget or targeting moving forward. So it's really about getting in there and testing things, kind of figuring out your comfortability with it, with Facebook advertising, and then just trying it. It's really about getting your hands in there.
And can you talk, this isn't a question here, can you talk about Facebook always encourage people to boost things and define the difference between boosting and ads and the benefit of doing an ad versus a boost?
So an ad is, they're pretty similar. Boosting, you're still putting money into Facebook. You're giving Facebook your money, but it's on a post you've already created. So that would be more of a boost. You can still target people. You can still give it a budget. You can still kind of do a geographical area, but it's a post you've already done versus an ad, which is a post that's not necessarily on your page.
We have another question.
Okay.
So is the conversion, question mark, join my Facebook page or an actual sale? And I think you talked about it with all those different conversion types. So if you want to circle back around to that.
So conversion is just getting them to do something. So let's say you're selling books and you have a web page that's selling books. You can optimize a Facebook ad for converting people to actually buy the book. So let's say a person buys a book and it takes them to a thank you page on their website. Facebook will be able to track that they went from that landing page to the thank you page, count that as a conversion, and then that will show up in the results of that Facebook Business Manager results page.
Great. I don't see any other questions, David. This was highly informative, but if everyone is like me, there's a million more questions that are pushed out from this. I think the issue or the main primary thing that you should know today is even though Facebook has gone through a lot of changes, and David showed in the beginning how it went from they got us addicted and let us do stuff and pushed it in to now they want it to be pay for play. Everyone's on Facebook. They are still the biggest social media platform there is. And you need to figure out how you can get your information out that's not too salesy, because you need to engage with people, not only just say buy now. You need to make them interested.
So, absolutely. Think of the sales funnel in most of what you're doing. So awareness to consideration to conversions.
Thank you, David. This was great. I hope all of you guys learned something today. Next week, we're doing LinkedIn. And also next week, we're doing the communicating with customers in the digital space, because all of you have had to look differently at your business model because we're not out there face to face. So being able to pivot and being in that space is important. So thank you for coming. Hopefully we'll see you next week. And thank you, David, for all your expertise. We appreciate that.
Of course.
And
No problem.
we're moving on. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone.